Alright, so this is going to be kind of like a little thing I just wanted to throw together. This is my predictions for each individual driver in the Indy 500 this year. So, Indy 500, as you may know, is what I think is the biggest race of the year. Daytona 500, Monaco GP can't even hold a candle to the Indy 500. So, let's go from back to front from last place starting spot to first place starting spot let's see who and my opinions on how they'll do. So, our first driver is Catherine Legg, actually our last driver, starting 33rd. This was a last-minute entry, so I'm actually kind of surprised it made it into the field. Legg did. She's driving the Sam Schmidt 81 car, and if Jourdain wouldn't have had problems in qualifying, Legg, I doubt, would have made it. So, but I don't think Legg's gonna do too bad, but I think she won't get above 20th. So, on to 32nd, Buddy Lazier. Now, I may get some flack for this, because Buddy Lazier is a former Indy 500 champion. He won in 96, and you can't take that away from him. He is an Indy 500 champion. In quite possibly the worst Indy 500 ever run. Lazier is... He won in 96, and if you know anything about open wheel racing in America, that at the end of 95, the IRL and Tony George split from CART. Excuse me. And the IndyCar IRL took the Indy 500 while CART went on to do the US 500. And what ended up happening was you probably had, quite honestly, the least talented Indy 500 field ever. With, it was just a lot of almost replacement drivers in the field, and even the Wikipedia page says it gave the idea of replacement drivers. So, yeah, he won in a very crummy year for the 500. There was a lot of, nagging. It was just not the greatest race on the planet. A lot of inexperienced drivers that made the field. And plus, they had this weird top 26 rule where the top 26 in points could get into the 500, kind of like how NASCAR does, or did last year with top 35, or still does rather. But Lazier is going to be my pick for the first retirement by blowing up on lap 20, since he's running his own car, and I don't have a lot of faith in Buddy Lazier, despite his Indy 500 victory. Starting P31, Connor Daly, and yes, this is the GP3, GP2 driver, Connor Daly. And also the son of Derek Daly, commentator that you may know in this country if you watched some stuff. Preferably kart races back in the 90s. I think Derek Daly did a few. And but Connor Daly is an American, unlike his father, who I think Irish. He might be Scottish, somewhere in there. But Connor Daly, I'm actually kind of surprised because he is in a H.A. Foyt car in the 41. So I hope he does well. I think out of the last row of the grid, row 11, I think he has definitely the best chance to get the highest position out of those three, because unless if he just screws up and hits the wall, but which we have seen him make that rookie mistake by he spun out, or he wrecked himself in practice, nearly riding off the car, and I think they actually fixed it, if I'm not mistaken. And it actually caught some pretty cool, not cool, but pretty big air. Anyway, on to row 10, Pippa Mann in 30th. One of 4 females in the field, the second from the bottom. Catherine Legg was, of course, the first. Pippa is another English woman driver. She's better than Catherine Queen of Crash, but, well, I honestly will probably get some flack for that one, too, because I preferably don't like Catherine Legg. I think she was very, very overrated. So, Pippa has the ability, I think, to be the best out of the 4 female in this field, because Simona, which I'll get to in a minute, isn't good at Indy. Catherine Legg, I just don't think has had enough time in that car, because, of course, that deal came together with probably the day of pole qualifying or something like that. And Anna Beatriz is kind of a wild card in there, which we'll get to her next, because she qualified the spot in front of Pippa. But Pippa Mann, I honestly think is the best chance, despite her consistently getting injured at oval races. I think back to the the tragic 2011 IZOD IndyCar Championship, where she got injured in that humongous pileup that took the life of Dan Weldon. But yeah, she did get injured in that. So Anna Beatriz has actually gotten somewhere. She's kind of just there though, but she obviously is turning some heads because she got an Andretti ride. So I give her some credit, but so obviously I think she has the best resources out of any of them. But I'm not sure if she's in an Andretti car though for the 500. Don't quote me if I say she's in an Andretti car, but I think she is. But she quite clearly is the lowest out of them because all the Andretti cars did really well. But Anna is another one that's just kind of there. I mean, she has the ability, obviously, but I don't know if I'd put her above Pippa on ovals, but what do I know? Starting at P28, the only male on row 10 is Tristan Vautier, the French rookie, the only rookie going for full-time in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Vautier has definitely impressed on the road courses. However, this is our first real chance to see him in on an oval in an IZOD IndyCar in the DW12 because I really didn't follow Indy Lights, so I don't know how he did on the ovals. If anybody in the comments could refresh me on how he did on the ovals. Vautier, I don't think is going to impress. I think he'll just be kind of there. Kind of maybe a midfield driver, maybe like 16th, but I don't know what he'll do. He could surprise. On to row 9 now. Sebastian Saavedra in 27th. Saavedra is driving for the same team Vautier. Is he? No, he's driving for the team that Bourdais is on. But, and I forget the name of it too. But, God, I'm really prepared going into this. Saavedra actually isn't that bad at ovals, if I remember right. He actually did do some stuff. I'm trying to go back and think. Yeah, I think he did do something on an oval. Maybe he won like the Freedom 100, which is the little Indy Lights race they run around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I think he won that once, but I'm not honestly sure. So, once again, don't quote me. Saavedra, though, he's qualifying towards the back, but I think he can actually get up into the top 10 by the end of the race. So, watch out for Saavedra. Maybe he can throw something up there. I don't know. 26, a very disappointing 26 for Graham Rahal. Rahal's shown speed here. I mean, he finished 3rd in 2011. He's actually been pretty quick around Indianapolis, so it's actually kind of surprising to see his pace here being so low. But I will say his teammate didn't qualify for the race, being Michael Jourdain Jr. He was the only car that went home. And, yeah, he's just, once again, I think just a guy that's going to be... I don't think that car's handling right for him. He obviously has the ability to do well at Indy, but he could get a top 10. He's like Saavedra. I think he could be up there. Joseph Newgarden in the qualifying P25 is actually in the 21 car this year, the Century 21 sponsored car, so they put the number 21 on it. And Newgarden is kind of just a driver that he's a good American guy, and not that I'm like priding Americans over everybody else, because I'm not like that. I'm not like typical Americans. But Newgarden is, despite having probably the deepest voice out of any driver I've ever heard, other than Kimi Räikkönen, but he actually has like a really deep voice, Newgarden does. But the thing with Newgarden is, I believe he's actually pretty good at ovals. So Joseph Newgarden is a driver I would watch out for, because I think all of row 9 actually could be a row that you could watch for, and maybe they can all move their way up the field. I'm going to take a break to drink a glass of water before we move on to row 8, which consists of Simona Di Silvestro in P24. Simona, the highest qualified of the 4 female drivers. That is a record for the Indy 500. 4 female drivers starting. And Simona, typically, I don't think is a driver that I associate with Indy 500 results. She has impressed this season on the road courses, namely St. Pete, but And I have a feeling that the NBC Sports, who isn't covering this in the Indy 500 this year, but NBC Sports is trying to proclaim her as the next Danica by obsessing over her, which, you know, she kind of deserves it because she actually has talent, unlike Danica, who essentially is only there because of her looks and that she is a great sponsorship material, and that's the only reason why she got GoDaddy in the first place. But anyway, back on Simona, I don't picture her as a good oval driver. I think she'll be kind of just tootling around. She has good equipment, but I think she'll just tootle around maybe 15th all day. Man, I put a lot of drivers into that bracket. Ryan Briscoe in 23rd. This is Chip Ganassi, from what I've heard, is Chip Ganassi's Grand Am program. Briscoe, of course, was in IndyCar last year for Penske, and this year he's with Ganassi, of course. And Briscoe got the pole for the Indy 500 last year, so you know he's quicker on this track. But Briscoe, I'm not exactly sure what he'll do. So, yeah, Briscoe is just kind of one driver that's going to be a wild card in this. I think he could definitely get a top 5. If that car handles right for him, he can get a top 5. But yeah, Briscoe, it just depends on that car. If Briscoe can run it to the death, then I think it'll be good. P22 for Townsend Bell, NBC, one of NBC Sports' pit reporters, I think he is. He's got a contract ride with NBC Sports as some sort of on their coverage of IndyCar. And Townsend is decent. I like him. He's a good guy. Driving's, when he was in IndyCar, he really didn't do terribly much. He did lead, I think, at an oval once, so I'll give him that maybe, but he's not Simon Pagenaud, that's the next driver, but he's Townsend Bell. He's just kind of there. Simon Pagenaud in the 77 car is the third car, is on the outside of row 7. Of course, there's the 3-wide start here. Simon in P21 is very... He's associated a lot with road courses. And rightfully so, because Simon Pagenaud is pretty good at them, actually. But this is in the other Sam Schmidt car, so yeah, this is Catherine Legg's teammate. But yeah, Simon Pagenaud, I don't know if he's going to do something in this race or not. I mean, remember, this is probably the fastest oval they run on. Maybe, Auto Club might be faster, but this is one of the fastest races they run. But yep, Simon's another one that I don't think will do anything. He'll kind of just be there, maybe get wrecked, I don't know. P20, middle of row 7 for James Jakes, the driver with the totally anonymous driver that I know nothing about with 2 first names. Yeah, I know he raced in IndyCar, was running P2 at a time at a St. Petersburg race, but besides that, I know nothing about him. So I don't think I can give a fair assessment to James Jakes, but I wish him well, but I don't think he will. Inside of row 7 is Charlie Kimball, one of the young guns in the series who is impressing me. Kimball was in kind of the same class as Hildebrand and Hinchcliffe, where Kimball is just kind of like the rear... Well, him and Hildebrand are kind of similar in regards, but Diabetes is his nickname. He's the only driver in IndyCar to race with diabetes, and I hope he does well. First and only driver to ever complete the whole Indy 500 with diabetes. But Kimball is just decent. I like him. He's a good road course racer. Not sure of his oval ability. Even though I did associate him with as an oval racer, but I don't know. Kimball's just kind of like a well-balanced driver. I think he'll stay stationary around 16, something like that. Maybe get a top 10 if he has a good car. But who knows? Kimball could win the race. He's another driver that I don't have much of a clue about, even though I have watched him and am actually quite a fan of him, believe it or not. But I don't know exactly what he's just kind of average everywhere. Kind of your Sauber, if this were Formula 1. He'd be driving for Sauber. On to row 6. Takuma Sato in 18th. Not the best qualifying run that I'd expect out of the AJ Foyt car. He's leading the points, too. Yay for Takuma. Takuma is probably most famous for shocking the world by running second in last year's Indy 500 with 1 to go and making a dive bomb move on Franchitti, and Franchitti essentially just almost pushed him into the grass and effectively wrecked him. And Sato is a decent driver. I think he'll do something. I think he could be in contention for this win because he's proven his ability on ovals. I mean, he was up front in Texas 2 years ago. In 2011, he was up front at Texas, and he's a better oval racer than people think. He's, of course, known for his Formula One abilities, so he's naturally good at road courses, and he finally won his first IndyCar race at Long Beach. But he just is kind of and he lost in effectively a last turn pass at Sao Paulo to Hinchcliffe. But Sato, I think, could actually do something. Da 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 da. P17's Dario Franchitti, the one driver you can never count out. And as much as I am so glad that we don't have to hear Ashley Judd freaking scream about him winning the Indy 500 if he does so this year, I still don't want him winning. Yeah. He's probably going to be up front, though. I won't deny that. He's going for 4 Indy 500s, so I hope he does well, but thank God we don't have to hear Ashley Judd. That's the only thing I can think of right now, but he'll be top 5. And if he doesn't, screw up, he very easily could be running top 5, let alone his qualifying position, because I think those cars were set in race trim. I think all the Ganassi's were. Scott Dixon in 16 just shows that the two Ganassi cars, the top 2 Ganassi cars are really close to each other. Yeah, Dixon, winner of the 09 Indy 500, I want to say. I think he won 09. And Dixon is another driver that I would expect to be up front. He was running second. Did he finish second in the Indy 500 last year? I think he did. Even though I would have given that to Sato, but because he was running second on the lap before. But Dixon got second, so he has definite oval ability. So watch for Dixon. He'll be another one that'll be up there battling with Franchitti for... they're my best bets for the win, despite their qualifying position. And I might throw the Andretti cars up there, but we'll get to more of the Andretti cars as we go higher into the field. Row 5, P15 for Sebastian Bourdais. Bourdais is known as the whining crazy bitch of the series, which is exactly why I like him, because he cries and whines, but he's damn good at road courses. Or at least in Champ Car he was, but his performance in IndyCar has kind of shown that the field towards the end of Champ Car wasn't exactly the greatest. But Bourdais, I hope he does well, but he's more of a road course racer, so I'd expect him to finish about where he's starting, 15th, maybe a little lower. Justin Wilson is P14 is a driver who I always associated as a road course racer until he kind of surprised me by winning Texas last year. Wilson is... that kind of raises my stake in Wilson, but not too much. I think he'll get top 10, definitely. He's good at Indy. Maybe top 5, now that I'm thinking about it. He'll be up there, I think. He'll be up there. He'll be in top 10-ish area. Justin Wilson, I like him as a person. He's a decent guy, former Formula One driver. Like Sato. I think his rookie year was the same year as Sato was. No, Sato started in 02, never mind. And Wilson was in 03. Oil Serbia in P13 in the 22 car. Now, Serbia's team is likely to disband after Indy. I wonder if a good result would stop that. So, Serbia has a lot more than just the Indy 500 riding on him. He could have his whole team falling on him right now for survival, really. Because if he wins the Indy 500, he'll get sponsorship, so... sponsorship makes racing, and he doesn't have sponsorship for the upcoming races, so the 500 could be that team's last race. So, Serbia, he has the ability, but I think he won't win. But he could be a dark horse up front, definite dark horse. Under row 4, as I scroll up the page, Tony Kanaan in the 11 car, starting P12th. Kanaan is probably the unluckiest driver in the Indy 500. He's good. He's proven his speed at Indy, but really hasn't done anything with it. if to be blatantly honest, he really isn't the best at Indianapolis, like I think a lot of people think he is. But he has run up front when he was with Andretti, so I'll give him credit there, but not exactly a team that I'd expect to do well. Yeah, just going there with that, but I don't think he'll do the greatest. He'll get maybe top 8, somewhere. He'll be 4th to 8th, I think, unless if he somehow wins it, which he could. J.R. Hildebrand, most famous for crashing his car coming to the victory in 2011. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm forgetting Alex Tagliani in the middle. We'll get to Hildebrand in a minute. Tagliani, ironically, is in the same number that Weldon won the 2011 500 from, with the 98 car. 98 is quite honestly my favorite paint scheme in the whole field. The 98 car is actually pretty sweet. But, I don't know. Tagliani was pole sitter for the 500 last year. He can do something on an oval. He, I think, was pole at Texas. No, he was pole for, I'm sorry, he was, not last year, wasn't pole. He was pole for 2011, the Indy 500 in 2011, and then he got pole at Texas the next week, so, or at least in the first duel, because that was the weird Texas year, but A-tags, as I call him, A-tags I think could do something. He's a good qualifier on ovals, but I'm not sure if he has the speed of the ovals, so I'd watch him, but I think top 10. I think he's got a decent car if he can work on it. The Indy 500 is wide open, in my opinion, except for the Ganassis, who I think are going to destroy everybody. P10 goes to J.R. Hildebrand, the guy who lost the 2011 500 to the 98 car in the 4. Yeah, that's pretty much all he's known for. He's the only reason why J.R. Hildebrand, I think, is gets my attention is the hilarity of some of his crashes. I mean, he effectively costed Will Power a chance. He cost a chance of victory for Will Power at St. Pete this year by really dumb, but with a really dumb move under caution by not paying attention to what's going on in front of him, and it was too late. So he ran right over the back of Power. Yeah, and then coming off the final corner at Indy, not being able to get by Charlie Kimball, that's kind of comical. He's kind of more, in my eyes, known for his quite hilarious wrecking rather than his actual racing ability, which I can't really pick that he did. I don't pick out one moment where he was particularly strong. On to row 3 and my personal favorite driver, James Hinchcliffe. Hinchy took Danica's seat and immediately started doing better than her in it. Just shows how much I love Danica Patrick. Hinchcliffe got front row last year on a starting grid. Ran top 10 all day. But I think his car fell off at the end. If he has a good car, and he's in an Andretti car, might I also add, he could definitely do something. Watch Hinchcliffe. Because the Andretti cars look like they're going to be up there with Ganassis. Watch Hinchcliffe. Watch the Andretti cars. And we're going on to P8, being Helio Castroneves. Castroneves, like Franchitti, is going for his 4th Indy 500 win. But Castroneves got a lot of his... He won some Indy 500 recently. But he got a majority of his Indy 500s young in his career. And I think Helio might be getting towards the end of his career, and he might be slowing down a bit. But if I were Helio, he's good on the road courses, and he's proven he's good at Indy, but I don't know if he's got it anymore to win this championship, or not the championship, to win this race, and I don't actually think that Helio is the strongest driver at Indy like I used to think he was. Up until last year, I always thought Helio was the strongest at Indy, but that quite clearly went to Franchitti. But Helio is a driver that... I don't know. If Helio gets bit a lot with, I believe, mechanical problems, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. Unless if I'm thinking of somebody else, rather. And Helio is just a driver that I would expect to kind of be there, but not be there. I don't picture Helio being up in the top 5 for some reason. I guess I don't. Inside of row 3 is Ryan Hunter-Reay, last year's IndyCar champion. Trying to remember, is he good on ovals or not? He somewhat is. But he's in an Andretti car, which gives him a lot of power under it. And that could definitely help Ryan Hunter-Reay. I think his oval ability is going to end up hurting him. But overall, he'll be there, but not be there. Kind of like Elio, but he's actually in a decent car. He could get a top 5 easy. P6, outside of row 2 for Will Power. Power is not an oval racer. We realize that. Power sucks at ovals. I don't know how he got up there, and I don't picture him winning the Indy 500. He sucks at ovals. He's not good. He could win the IndyCar championship by just doing one. Before I even get to that, he's having a bad year too. Penske's not having the strongest of years this year. And Power, I think, theoretically could win the IndyCar championship just based on road courses, but winning the 500 is a no. I don't picture Power up at the end. P5 for the top Penske guy of A.J. Allmendinger. And who would believe that the former Champ Car driver turned NASCAR driver, then kicked out for using ADD medication that I think even I may have used. I think he was on Focalin. Oh, no, he was on Adderall. Never mind. Using ADD medication. He got kicked out. Even though he wasn't supposed to be, which is wrong, but he got kicked out of NASCAR. Makes a career in IndyCar and immediately starts doing something in the Indy 500. Damn good credit for him. I give him a lot of credit. He probably has a more oval experience than a couple of other actual Indy drivers in this field because he's had so many years in NASCAR. But Allmendinger is up there, and he's kind of a wild card. I wouldn't throw it past him to maybe get up there and get top 3. Get on the podium. Go for it, AJ. You got this. Now we're up to the inside of row 2 with EJ Viso. Now, if anyone would have asked me the question, would EJ Viso qualify top 5 for this year's Indy 500, I would have bet probably $1,000 that he wouldn't have. Because EJ Viso, if you don't follow IndyCar, is the king of crashing into stuff. But he's gotten better recently. Oh, and he's also in the Venezuela mobile, where he's sponsored by the late Hugo Chavez's and all of his companies. He was kind of like Milkaduno, where Venezuela essentially sponsors his whole way. But he got an Andretti ride out of it, so that's probably why he's up there, is he got an Andretti ride. And he is actually kind of decent at Indy, if I remember right. He actually was doing some stuff with that Andretti car, so I give him credit, but not too much credit. I don't think he's going to win. I think he'll maybe, if he doesn't crash, he'll get top 10. And we're on to the front row now, the outside for Marco Andretti, the second of 3 Andretti cars in the top 4, being Marco Andretti. Marco lost the Indy 500 in his rookie year, was that? I think it was his rookie year, by, I don't know, maybe half a car at most, to Sam Hornish Jr. in 06. Yeah, but Marco, there's always a rumored Andretti curse where Mario only won it once, Michael never won it, but Marco I think could. Marco's going to be up there with the Ganassis, I have a feeling. And Marco, I give him credit. He's up there. Great job for him. Show your grandpa and your father that you're better at Indy than they are. Or just prove that the talent level in IndyCar is lower than what they were. Which is true, in my opinion. P2 was probably the biggest shock of all qualifying, being Carlos Munoz, a one-off driver for Andretti, qualifying second. Now, that's another one that I would have bet $1,000 that would not be in the top 10, would be Carlos Munoz. I pictured him like 20th when I saw him on the entry list. He got second. Damn good run from him. Give him a lot of credit. He was up front all qualifying day. He got into the top 9, then jumped up to second. And Carlos, I don't think will win it because I think rookie inexperience will catch him out. he might, like, hit the wall or something, but, yeah. And now our pole sitter for the 2013 Indy 500. Spectrum! Ed Carpenter. One of my favorite drivers in the entire field. I love Ed Carpenter. He's up there with Hinchcliffe. I love Ed Carpenter for the fact that he is a privateer guy. He owns his own team. Damn good on ovals. Wins races with his own car. Has a one-car team. He was talking about entering a second car, but that never fizzled out. Ed Carpenter is a guy that I like. I don't think he'll win a 500, but getting pole in your own car right there, that's enough for me. And I wish he'd be getting more coverage, but obviously he's not, because obviously pole doesn't matter in the Indy 500. But I give Ed Carpenter a lot of go for that. Great job for Ed Carpenter. We all love you as a collective fan base. And despite his stepfather being Tony George, which is probably the only reason why he got to start in IndyCar, and the only reason why he's still around is because Tony George, who of course was the original owner of the IRL when it split off from CART, and is related to the family who owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway or something like that. And I just think Ed Carpenter, despite having the family backgrounds to quite possibly the man who could have destroyed open wheel racing, Tony George, Ed Carpenter is a good guy, and I hope he does well, and I would love to see him win, but I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. The Indy 500 is wide open in 2013. Anybody could theoretically win it. Well, maybe with the exception of Buddy Lazier, but anyone could theoretically win the Indy 500, and it should be a damn good race. I suggest even NASCAR fans, hardened NASCAR fans that are probably going to watch this because you guys think this will be another ARCSAR race. Yeah, you guys got to watch the Indy 500 this year. It's going to be a damn good race that I hope you guys will finally admit that some IndyCar races are better than watching a 600-mile follow-the-leader tournament at Charlotte. So, anyway, F1 fan out.